I recently, a therapist that I, my therapist, what am I doing? Why am I a therapist I know? What was that? That was weird.
Wait a minute. You've been to therapy?
I was talking to this therapist at a party. Like, what am my therapist that I pay? I have a standing appointment
this
for 8
news just
years.
in.
Yeah.
Comedian Whitney Cummings has had therapy. I repeat, Whitney Cummings has had therapy. She'll never work again. Crazy Cummings, they call her.
If she's 2 minutes late, I unravel. Like, what is this performance of pretending I don't go to therapy?
You know what I love? That you're acting like it's 1928 and you're a presidential candidate. And I have been to a therapeutic doctor. Campaign over.
Oh, you know this therapist I hang out with socially, as if you've ever met a therapist at a party. Now I have so many questions. But she was telling me about sort of how big of a deal your height is in terms of the way you develop as a person.
Right.
Because I have this person in my life who, she's very insecure, she's very emotional, she's very intense. And my therapist was like, how tall is she? And I was like, oh, she's like 5'3". And she's like, oh, well, yeah, she's short. She's scared. Just her amygdala gets activated more easily because she's short and she's scared.
Right.
And it just was this weird thing that I just never thought of. And I think that I had to be more precocious as a kid because I was tall very young.
So you were tall young, because women do develop faster.
People knew, or people thought I was older than I was. So I kind of had to pretend I was older than I was. And I think I got more serious than I should have been given my height. Yeah.
I was always blown away by the fact that when I was in grade school, there was like 2 kids. There was one kid in particular. He was just much taller than the rest of us. And I think like in 5th grade or 6th grade, he had stubble and a deep voice. And he had a way of walking around where he sort of was like the Marlboro Man. And I was an animated Japanese little girl, you know? I was like, and I looked at this guy and he'd be like, okay. All right. Okay. And he had a girlfriend, and I was so far removed, and I remembered him thinking, oh my God, that's an adult.
Yeah.
He's an adult. So then I think I ran into him at a reunion later on, and he's short. Which was just such a it blew my mind that he was this giant to me, and it turns out and it's not that he's short, but he's like, he's like 5'9", and I'm just like, I'm not. It's not what.
It was a mirage.
It's like when you go back to your elementary school and all of the water fountains are like an inch off the ground.
Yes, so true.
And you think, I remember trying to leap up to get some water.
There's like a little hook, and you're like, how did I even get my face? How did I even get my face under that
Our
little...
faces were shaped different then. We had long, pouty lips.
By the way, what was that little thing that covered the water spout?
That was, I don't know why that was there.
What was that? It serves no real purpose, frankly.
You got to think that there was some theory in the 50s or the 60s when they were putting that in.
Yeah.
We need this to protect us from the communists. If communists see our gums, they'll defeat us.
You would just hit your face on it and get like impetigo or something. Like it served no purpose for the water. I've never thought about that before.
What's impetigo?
Impetigo. Does anyone know what impetigo is? I might even be saying it wrong. It's like a skin infection. I forgot about how many...
Oh, you mean impetigo.
Am I saying it wrong?
No, I just said that. I just said that. I have no idea what it is, but I wanted to make you insecure and it worked. You mean impetigo. Where's this impetigo?
I guess I'm going to have to start going to therapy because you just made me insecure.
Well, if only you knew a therapist.
I have friends having kids now. You've been already through all this. Like, I forgot about how much like head lice I had as a kid. How I had a face infection. Remember head lice? Yeah. Did you have
Why
head lice?
Why are you turning to
I don't know.
This random guy in our studio, Aaron Blair, and saying, remember head lice?
Because I felt like I was bombing, and I feel like he's more likely to fake laugh at me.
What? You thought you were bombing with me?
Yeah, I was like...
I'm giving it up left and right. So willingly.
I had a facial infection called impetigo. It was like a skin infection that kind of looked like acne when I was a kid, and I had at the same time I had head lice. And this went on for like 2 years. Yeah. And I think we just...
You hideous ghoul.
I was. It was called impetigo. Maybe we found an antibiotic or I wasn't vaccinated
Remember
properly.
when you had leprosy?
Yeah, I told you to think.
Remember?
It was that.
And both your hands fell off?
And my jaundice or whatever it was. And
I lived in a wheelbarrow. What is wrong with you?
I have a lot of questions
terrible.
about the vaccines I did or didn't get. But I had, and that's just a really traumatic thing as a kid, having, acne and stuff like that.
So what would you say were the things that were either good in your life when you were a kid or not so good that probably helped you be funny?
Oh, what a great question. My dad, I think we love to beat up on our dads and moms for not being good parents. It's like very in vogue right now, but like they had no tools. So a couple of things I'm going to say you're going to cringe because we now look at it as bad parenting or maybe like abuse.
You guys would all make out.
The incest.
Because we did that too.
I feel like the incest really took me to another level as a comedian.
We did a lot of group making out in my family. Hey, it helped us.
There was a lot. I mean,
it's an Irish thing.
We were poor. I mean, I slept with my mom till I was like 13. I mean, there's a lot of shit that looking back now, people are like, well, it's crazy that, my baby's 8 months old and she's still in bed with me. And I'm like, oh, is that bad? Because I did that till I was a full-on adult. But my dad was very, for lack of a better word, like paranoid and questioned authority all the time. And I remember we would be reading like textbooks to study for quizzes, and he'd be like, well, how do we know this book is right? Like who decides this? Like and it was so annoying at the time because I just needed to learn whatever was in there. But he was like, who wrote this book? Like, how do we know this is true? Like he would, and it seemed so crazy.
Like, George Washington was the first president. But really, like, according to who?
But he would just be like, yeah, this letter from George Washington, like, who knows who wrote this? Like, there's no proof of any of this. And he would just sort of like go on these like rants about it. And, we go to the grocery store and it would say like organic apple. He's like, who decides this? They put a sticker. How do we know this is true? Like, he would just like hold up the line, in grocery stores, questioning things and challenging things. And it was super embarrassing at the time.
Yeah.
But it really did plant the seed in my head to always play devil's advocate. And that's kind of what stand-up is. Right. He wouldn't pay bills on, he'd be like, this can't be true. I don't remember this. He just didn't believe anyone or anything ever. Like someone would tell us something, you're but you can't believe him because, You
can take it too far. You know, I mean, you can get it, he could get behind the wheel and say, I don't believe this wheel, it determines the direction of the car. I think my mind does. Yes. And then later in the hospital, maybe it was the wheel.
Like we'd go to a restaurant, and I would say like, what's good to the waiter? And they would say like the pasta or whatever. And then I go, great, I'll have the pasta. And he's like, you can't trust him. He works here. Like, how do you know that there's something about this? And you can't believe him. He has a stake in it. Like, of course he's going to tell you that. Like, he just convinced me everyone was always lying to me, which really damaged my ability to have relationships. But it does sort of develop this little muscle in your brain to question everything, which is, I think, kind of what we do. Yeah. In a way.
Yeah.